I watch a lot of anime, but it's only recently that I've started to look beyond the surface of the shows I watch. I made a video on the first season of Arknights a long time ago, and I talked about how much I love the vibe, atmosphere, and story of it. But what about the themes and message it tries to relate to us? In this video, I'm going to talk about how the anime portrays the burden of responsibility, along with other themes such as persevering beyond the present challenge. So if you're interested in that, stick around and you might learn something. Arknights Perish in Frost was a surprise to me because I wasn't keeping a watchful eye on the release date of the season. You can imagine how I must have felt, like a kid receiving an early birthday or Christmas gift. I was super excited to watch and get into the mood of the Arknights universe again. But before we get into the new season, I want to give my thoughts on the ending of the first season, since I never actually did that, you know, my bad, whoopsie and all that. The end of season 1 was actually very tragic. It was depressing because Rhodes Island failed to complete their objective successfully. While they fended off Reunion, the terrorist force that is the sole antagonist of the anime, they still failed to maintain their primary focus during the mission, and this caused Rhodes Island's main leaders to sort of wonder why they were going this far in the first place. It isn't something a lot of season finales for anime tend to do. Usually there's a full resolution for the problem that the cast was facing, but I think Arknight's story is different in that way, and the anime fully embodies that feeling and emotion. I think that's why I love season 1 so much, because it wasn't scared to be different, sort of like a dim, moody teenager who wears their all-black outfit when the scorching hot sun is blazing outside. Compared to other anime, I'd say Arknights season 1 ended off on a sadder note. So where does that leave us with season 2? It picks up where the first season left off, with all the emotions spread out on the table. It was like playing poker with all the hands facing up. When I watched the first episode, the memories and emotions I felt from the first season are started to rush back into me, and I remembered everything that happened. The burden and guilt of responsibility was bringing down Amiya in these moments. It felt too real in a sense. The depression that ensues for a while after you've known you failed at something you found important is not exciting. All you want to do is wrap yourself in a blanket and lie on your bed in the fetal position. You desire a dark, isolated space, which is reflected in Amiya going out into the empty city on a rainy night. While out in this dark environment, the sadness of failure and the burden of responsibility is really bearing down on Amiya, because a very human thing to do is to assume the fault for everything that has happened. I'm no war commander or pioneer of medical sciences involving life or death, but I know what it feels like being in that sort of leadership position. You try your best not to misstep, and in this case, Amiya's misstep was the loss of a life that mattered to her. When one of the core values of your organization is that no friend is left behind, then you might as well be dancing on your mother's grave when you fail to upkeep that promise. However, one healthy thing to do is to shoulder responsibility and troubles with other people. Chen, someone who was there during the failure of the mission, is also someone who was experiencing dark emotions because of the ordeal, and she was managing and able to push on past the current conflict with herself and among her team. Amiya looked up to her, and it was inspiring for her in a sense. There's two ways you can deal with the burden in my experience. You can either let go of them and relieve yourself of them. You can also let someone else shoulder the responsibility and said burden. Doing either of these releases the negative energy inside of you. No need to do any weird rituals to get rid of this feeling. Amiya knew that others were carrying that burden with them too, and so that made her feel better knowing that she wasn't the only one experiencing these deep, dark emotions. It struck her to her core, and she changed and grew because of this. She quickly adapted and was ready to get back onto duty with these worries, having been stifled for the moment. The burden of responsibility is a tricky subject. It's something that we all have to take on as we grow older. It's something that can be as easy to let go of, like some balloons flying off into the wind, or something like carrying a 25-pound weight vest on your body while going through your day-to-day. That's some shit that Navy SEALs do for physical training. I can't imagine having the same physiological responses because my brain decided to dump out all of my serotonin on the street and leave me with minimal resources to deal with this weight on my back. I think this anime depicts this greatly because the real emotions that Amiya shows through the aftermath of the first season and the very human-like solution of relying on others for support. It's not an anime that has the MC slap themselves across the face and walk it off. It takes the time to flesh out these emotions and allows the audience to feel these as well. It's also something widespread that almost anyone can understand to some extent. But this is all in the span of the first half of the first episode. There's a whole other 7.5 episodes that we need to watch to get the full message and story of this arc. Now obviously the season isn't over yet, so I'm giving you guys the short end of the stick again with the complete analysis, but get it twisted. There's a lot of things to gain from just watching the first 4 episodes of the new season. Another one of the things that I learned in just the first episode is how to persevere beyond the current challenge at hand. During a scene where Amiya and her crew were hiding from some of the Reunion members, the goons of Reunion decided to light a building on fire like they were having a fucking kumbaya around a fire pit. If I had seen this in real life, I would probably be terrified and in shock to see such an act of terrorism. Amiya has already dealt with her emotions and the burden of responsibility, but what do you do going forward? Do you let it pile up again to the point that you have a nervous breakdown? Well, no, that's obviously not the answer. When you drop a cinder block on your exposed foot, you have to compensate one way or another, not try doing it the exact same way. There's a whole array of methods for tackling this issue from whatever mental point you're at. Amiya decides to steal her resolve for what it means to be a part of Rhodes Island and doubles down on this treacherous path. For someone on her path and as heroic as her, it makes sense. I would probably cower away and cry like a baby, but for someone like Amiya, if you see a great evil threatening the lives of others, her only option is to keep on going down the path she's on. She's braver than before and wiser than before because of learning from her mistakes. She's willing to do what it takes to accomplish her objective. It's tough to do something as courageous as she did when it feels like the cards are stacked against you. As we see from the fight in episode 2, there is very little leeway for errors in that battle. It came down to the wire and Rhodes Island managed to escape. It was too close for comfort, and chances are that Reunion will be more well prepared for the next fight against Amiya and Rhodes Island. I think we can see some of this in our own lives. In a fight against depression and with your own mental health, your brain can think of 1,000 reasons why you might consider yourself worthless. It will jump through flaming hoops and do the flying trapeze just to get you to believe the lies coming out of your brain. It's kind of surreal once you make this realization. You might know what is causing you distress, but you might not know how to handle and control this facet of yourself. I think the one thing that we can learn from Amiya is that you should never give up on yourself. She failed at something that she wanted to accomplish and that made her depressed. However, she didn't completely give up on herself. She gave herself a chance to keep moving forward and make things right. If she left where she was at now, it would have been something that could have spelled the end of so many things precious to her. It's the same when you have depression. I'm not speaking down to you, I'm speaking from a place of experience. Depression may seem like something that lasts forever, but you have to break through that misconception because all feelings are temporary in a sense. You have to learn to bring on positive emotions consistently while being able to manage your negative emotions. It's not only giving up on yourself, but also giving up on the people around you. I don't imagine many people are self-centered, but if you are, know that there are people who might be depending on you, and with your regression from society, they're going to be losing a significant part of their support system. This is what I believe, and I have been in both parties of this scenario before. Depression also can come back in longer or more intense waves than before. Time pressure is something I talked about in my last video, go check it out, and it's basically the concept that we underestimate how intense our past might have been, and therefore, we think that time may have been moving faster in the present. I'm not here to bring up that topic again, but I believe there is an equivalent force when it comes to our past emotions and current emotions. With time pressure, we believe that we are much busier in our present times and have less free time to do the things that we want to. That feeling of intensity is what translates to emotions. We feel like the emotions that we feel in the current moment are forever and that we'll never stop feeling that way. At least that's my experience with depression. Sometimes you can call out for help too, but it's like you're screaming into an echo chamber. That's the type of pressure that comes with any strong emotions, such as depression or ecstasy. The way that the Arknights characters push through their challenges with resilience reminds me that I have to do the same in my own life. I can't let roadblocks stop me from achieving what I need to do. Whether it's the burden and responsibility that is keeping you down or the burnout from work that is slowing you down, you must have hope and steel resolve to go forward in your passions and projects and life because there is something valuable waiting on the other side. The way I'm talking right now makes me feel like I'm one of the coordinators who sets up anti-bullying rallies in school, but I swear this message makes sense for this anime if you just think about it for a second. There's a lot to learn from anime that are seemingly action-oriented. I think in the case of Arknights, it's because amidst the political factors of the show, there's also internal drama in all of the forces making up the world and the people themselves. It's no different than in real life. Large corporations and organizations can have huge problems with their network, and it can cause issues for the people working there and the outside world. I'm not a fan of the dystopian worldview shit where you think everything is doomed and destined for destruction, but I can get that there is evil shit out there that throws the world out of balance. To name just one, there's Mappa as an entire company. I would never want to work there. You can't pay me to be in that building. There's also all the personal stuff we experience in our lives that throws our shit out of whack. I can't remember the last time I didn't have brain rot due to being online so much. I also don't remember not experiencing stress or anxiety because those have become so ingrained as part of my life that I might as well be walking on the eggshells with the expectations I set for myself every day. But I've lived this kind of life for a while now, and you tend to learn stuff from the small and large incidents. I've gained a new type of resilience that helps me push past the present challenge challenge and allows me to look forward to continuing down the path that leads to tomorrow. I don't feel stuck, and if I ever do, I can share the burden of what I am feeling with others. One of the key concepts I have in my life is to develop meaningful connection, and I will never forsake that. Thanks for listening to my long-winded rant about Arknights. I think with this style of content, I found a new side to myself that I love, but I won't stop making more comedy-focused content that I've made in the past. As always, all my socials will be in the description, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share the video. It helps a lot. Thank you for watching, and I'll see all of you next time.